MagicYoYo D1 gigahertz, I guess. Yeah, it's pretty good. So it's $10, pretty budget friendly. If you're wanting to get into looping, it's definitely, easy choice. It's got a starburst response, which is perfect for looping. Comparatively, I've had the Oracle or the Loop 360, and it's pretty good, but the silicon response wears out super fast when you're looping, so starburst is really the way to go, and it's usually a cheaper option too, which is always good. So this is $10 for 2 yo-yos, which is, that's the cost of one looping yo-yo, and really a cheap one at that. And they're giving you 2 in the box, and they're ball bearing, starburst response, like I said, and even aluminum bearing seats, which is pretty decent. The only problem is with these guys, the gap is a little on the tight side out of the box, and if you try to make it a little looser, it doesn't really work because of that aluminum bearing seat. So it kind of plays a little too tight, and when you try to do sidewinders or something like that, or recovering after a bad loop like that, basically what's going to happen is the string is going to bunch up in the gap, and it's going to kind of wrap around, instead of wrapping around where the response is and wrapping around the bearing, it's going to wrap around like in a bigger diameter on the outer side of the yo-yo, and it's going to bind up, and the string's going to get real stuck in there, and it's not a fun experience. So if you're not really good at looping and you do something like that, your string's going to get stuck in there, and you're going to have to stop, pull it out, or take it apart. So that's really the only main problem with these guys, and I actually went ahead and fixed that by just 3D printing. I have a little, almost like a little spacer. You can't really see it here. What you're really seeing is the raft, but it's going to be like impossible to show on camera. I'll throw in a snapshot. But basically, I just printed off a small little spacer, and was able to get it more adjustable by having the plastic sit right where the bearing seat would normally hit the inner race, and that makes it so you can kind of do a little bit more adjustment and have a little bit more room to have a wider gap, so you're not getting your string stuck in there. The other thing I did, which I think is pretty aesthetically pleasing, is these come in just green and blue, and it's kind of not the best looking. It's got some really terrible, like giant ugly stamped on white logo that says gigahertz on it, like a computer or something. Anyway, so I went ahead and just took the caps off and sanded them all in one direction to give it kind of a brushed look, because I knew I couldn't polish the plastic back up to clear. So basically I just went in one direction with the finest grit sandpaper I had, took off that logo, hit it with a little bit of plastic polish, and yeah, gave it a little bit of a smoky look, brushed look. It looks really good. And what I did was I took if you look in here, there's some screws right here and here, and that gives you the ability to remove the caps and swap them between the yo-yos. So not only did I swap the halves, but I also swapped the caps, and there's this little ring on the outside of the cap that you can swap as well if you wanted to do a blue center cap and a green ring and then blue outer, or vice versa, or if you just want to do what I did, which is just the green caps, green ring, and then blue outer, and obviously the opposite. Drop the so here's the aluminum seat that I was talking about. It's just a little little aluminum seat, sits right in where the response is, and it's got standard axle, standard bearing as well, which is just one of those small looping bearings. I can get the exact size and post it up on the screen, but it's just standard. I think it comes in most looping yo-yos. So for specs, we're talking about 57.2 millimeter diameter, which is slightly on the smaller side, about a millimeter less than what's typically used. So it's a little smaller, but not really affecting too much. It makes it a little feels a little less rim weighted than something at 58, but other than that, not a big deal. 34.35 is the width, which
you know, fairly standard. Like I said, that gap is a little tight. Other than that, nothing really to see there. And it's 51.5 grams, which is right around what most, I think, professionals like to use, is around 50 to 55. 55 being, you know, a little bit too heavy. If you get past that, you're really going to start ripping your fingers apart.
So yeah, D1s, if you want to get into looping for cheap, definitely a good option, and I think you can even easily compete with these.